Trump's energy stocks will help you retire early. There's one stock that is about to skyrocket. The company is Bloom Energy, ticker symbol BE. They do mobile power for data centers, and the mobile part means they will literally divert natural gas from a close by pipeline and generate electricity with a giant, basically wheeled converter that they can drive around the country to where these new data centers are being built. So you don't have to wait months to get a power plant built. At best, it's more like years. And that's part of why Elon's Colossus data center was able to get up and running so fast. There are a couple other companies that are super poised to go up. They're constructive, you would say, in a trader investor language. The charts look great. The companies are SanDisk, ticker symbol SNDK. They're a memory stock. Memory has a huge backlog. The demand's high from companies like OpenAI. Rumor has it that Sam Altman bought a ton of memory, not necessarily with the intention to use it immediately, but perhaps with a slight strategy of cornering the market without using that word. Perhaps you could say getting an initial forward-looking supply. I don't know what language their team is going to come up with if that ever it becomes bubbling up to the news cycle. But SanDisk looks great. A lot of other memory stocks have been doing well as well. Seagate, Micron, and Western Digital. There's one other company that is a little under the radar I want to keep on your radar. It's Service Titan, ticker symbol TTAN. They recently had earnings. The chart is setting up in a flag. Of course, a flag indicating that the price is beginning to be agreed upon, so it's about to break one way or the other. Of course, with a tight stop, you can use that to your advantage. It's sort of a betting scenario. You win 10, lose 1, that type of strategy. Company is a software as a service for contractors. Software not doing incredibly, but this company is. So let's jump into these charts, starting with Bloom Energy.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 So here's Bloom Energy's chart, and it's not the beautiful GSAT chart you might be hoping for, where you have some type of flag like this. Everybody and their mother says, something is about to happen. You're up or down. It's not the frog chart where that opportunity also seemed to be shaping up. So there are flags that have formed and there's been breakouts, but there's also been opportunities recently on bounces with higher lows. So here's a higher low right here, and we did see a move up, and now we're seeing a little bit of an undercut right here with a reclaim. So this is a higher low as well, and you might say, well, that's great, but don't we want something like Wolf where you get a higher low and then the next low is higher as well? Like, well, okay, that's the best, but at the same time, these companies don't just go up forever. I mean, this might fail here, so you have to sort of stack all of these ideal outcomes one on top of another, and often what you'll get is breakdowns like this. So, you find opportunities that look like flags, you take an at bat, and sometimes you take a quick loss. So this is a loss of, 1, you could say, $1 a share, something like that. And then when you do get that frog type opportunity, you can get that $10 a share, which works out to 15% on a $60 stock. So here's the opportunity right here on Bloom Energy. You have this pullback and then you have a reclaim, and it looks pretty sloppy here. Like, what are you risking off of? This is in the middle of nowhere. It's like, well, it's tough to buy down here because take a stock like TE, another energy stock. Let's say you were going to buy this pullback. It's like, or this pullback. You know, you don't really want to catch a falling knife, especially on a stock that's gone straight up. This is reminiscent of SanDisk, actually, which we're going to talk about. Shorts got in after this first down candle. And the presence of shorts doesn't necessarily necessitate that the stock's going to go down. Of course, shorts are just as clueless as longs a lot of the time. But what it does mean is there's a lot of selling pressure. And you'll see that on incredibly small stocks if you ever are risky enough to trade them, that sometimes if enough shorts get in a stock at a certain time, what can happen initially is there's so much selling pressure because shorting is selling. You know, you borrow the shares from a long and then you sell them on behalf of the long and you pocket the difference. The long actually gets a, lower cost average when they get the shares back, right? Not actually, but we're just going to say that's how it works. Selling is the opposite of buying, right? So if you sell up here and enough people sell, there's going to be selling pressure. Of course, the nuance is that if, so many people start selling that someone decides to mess with them and it's a small enough stock, one buyer or one group of buyers can overwhelm the sellers and buy up the stock, and then all the sellers suddenly have to buy as well, aka cover their position, and the stock shoots up and the sellers, the shorts lose money. Now, this isn't a tutorial on shorting. If you want to, get into that, you can, but it's hard. Okay, so Bloom Energy, though, is this long opportunity, and you can see it more clearly on, say, a 30-day chart. Coming into open here, we're definitely getting a little bit of compression here. We went up, we went down, we're coming back to this price agreement level. And I think this level is important. 109, 110, 110, call it, this high right here. So pick something that works for you. Risk $1, look for $10 at a minimum, maybe risk $2, look for $20. But I think there is definitely an opportunity that works risk reward wise. Does it follow the market a little bit? Of course it does. This is the market, the green overlay in the background. Okay. But also, the market went up significantly. Bloom was a little delayed. And if we look at the chart as a whole and zooming out, yes, okay, the market went up, but this thing really went up. So they're not totally correlated, and that's the reason to look at individual stocks instead of the market. So that's the level for Bloom Energy. As far as what they do, this is what they do, and these are their earnings. If I'm even looking at the company that we want to look at, BE is the company. Notably, ChatGPT having a lot more competition from Gemini in terms of financial information, if that's an interest of yours. So you can try that out. I'm still sticking with ChatGPT though. Here's the revenue up 57% year over year, 500 million of revenue. And I told you what they do. Okay, fuel cell systems for mobile, AI infrastructure, electricity generation. So we can jump into exactly how they generate that electricity on site, but if you're watching this video, I have to assume what's more interesting for you is actually saying, what stock to buy, because that's why you clicked on this video in the first place. So here's what you have to consider. People are going to be talking about the biggest stocks in the market. People are going to be talking about NVIDIA, but it's not doing anything. If you talk about Google, that's great that it had a great run, but now it's leveling off, so you can't really touch that. Amazon, same difference. Broadcom selling off some after earnings. TSM is still interesting, but after some of these moves like this, if it continues to fake breakout, there's going to be a lot of people stuck up here and they're just going to sell when the stock goes up there. So you have to be aware of that. AMD is one of those that's equally just struggled to go up and been really a bother for traders that are trying to get in. So I guess I could go through each of these, but I don't want to, show you the wrong stocks. I think Tesla's interesting. I'll talk about that. Walmart as well, certainly interesting. While Schwab is powering up, I hate this godforsaken software so much, even though it's the best one. Somehow it just crashes. But this is another company to take a look at besides SanDisk, besides Bloom Energy, ServiceTitan. So here's what the company does while that's powering up. They do trade business software as a service. And if you're uninterested in software as a service right now, I don't blame you. Salesforce CRM is doing horribly. ServiceNow not doing great either. And of course, by horribly, I mean their current price compared to where they've been. Over the long term, they're doing great. But this is a vertical SaaS. So there is a possibility that some of the super broad-based software as a services just get wiped out by, tools like Cursor. If you've come across that, Cursor.ai, some of these AI agentic companies that basically have found a way to code on behalf of the user, and obviously software engineers are shaking their boots right now. This is a deca-billion-dollar company, Cursor. Okay, programmers know about it. It's a Y Combinator company. It's definitely the future. Okay, and this is the Titan chart. So what's happening is these verticalized softwares seem to be doing okay, and Titan's in that category. There's an entire private equity company that has done super well rolling these up. I don't know how long that's going to work in the long term, but every single vertical needs its own software, and the argument about AI is that sure, it's able to help with your coding, help with your software development for, employees at these big companies. So it's a AI for the AI engineers. How's that for confusing? But in terms of like actually knowing what specific use cases a contractor needs, like it's great. It can build a React website. React is a way to build a website. It's kind of like WordPress, if you've heard of that, or Squarespace or Wix. But in terms of doing something useful, these softwares are still doing super well. So that's the bull case for ServiceTitan. If you look at some of these other companies, CRM or ServiceNow, they are bottoming a little bit right now, but it's still a serious downtrend. So maybe now's a good time for software. CRM, again, bottoming, earnings is solid, but you have to be careful. Are you buying a meta type of dip, or are you buying a dip that actually has some staying power? So some of these rare earth dips seem to be, more interesting. This is a 40% bounce. Of course, it's risky. It's a lot more of an illiquid company, USAR is, versus MP, which has that government stake. So you have to balance. Do you want, lesser gain or more stability? And stability comes in the form of liquidity. They come hand in hand. So I think this is a good balance. TTAN is the ticker, and you can see the flag shaping up here. It's definitely interesting on an intradaily chart as well. It looks like something that could explode to the upside. Similar to a frog, F-R-O-G, is another software name that we've looked at. So one company we didn't look at yet that is on this buy list, buy idea list is SanDisk. So it's not so much a flag as you might want. Really, you might want it to come back a little bit, and then go something like this and sort of wedge up and then, go like that. But you can't always get what you want. It is pulling back a little bit, which is great after a big day yesterday. So I think it's interesting right now because you can buy off of this close 2 days ago. So that is right here. You can see that close here. And you really can risk $1 or $2 to make 20. So 35 to 55. That's an 8-10%, or not even a 10% gain that this could definitely provide you. Micron, and that's just for your first trims on the position where you start to sell some. Micron's a little extended, so I'd like this to go sideways and let earnings get out of the way before you mess with that. But if earnings is good, that'll of course help a SanDisk position. Western Digital's a little extended too. Seagate also in that bucket. So I think the only one that isn't extended is SanDisk. There definitely were some shorts in here, but they've sort of, I don't know if they're still in at this point. If they are, that's great because they're going to cover at some point. And this is, they probably shorted after this first red candle. The good ones got in here and have a little bit of a higher average, or, the lucky ones predicted it perfectly on this particular instance. But if they do have to cover, this thing is going to squeeze, which is good for us. So that's SanDisk. If it were to just go straight up and hit this high, and I don't mean straight up, but even like a tiny pullback and then straight up, it's probably going to fail, right? Because this is a pretty fast rebound. But, the longer it can build out a base, something like this, and approach this high or even slightly go above it and then fail under it and then build out more of a base, that's going to be really attractive because it shows that people, are not euphorically buying it, but they are consistently buying it, which is what can lead to a big move to the upside. They actually want to own the stock. They're not just trying to flip it. So as far as other companies that definitely are on the list of interesting, there's actually quite a few. It would be great if we could see them. That would be wonderful, Schwab. So here's one. ONDS, this drone stock, is definitely setting up, just been wedging up. If it can go sideways a little bit, that would be great. It's hard to buy a company that's just channeling upwards like there. If you look at CoreWeave, that was in the category of channeling. It was thought that, this $14 billion Meta deal would be the spark to light CoreWeave, but something about the connection to Core, the company they were trying to buy, Core Scientific, CORZ, which, that acquisition did not go through. There was actually something uncovered about, I don't know if it was CoreWeave's ability to pay or CoreWeave's ability to get contracts, but there was good reason for this to fail. It wasn't some sort of, spirited activist, nonsensical rejection. There was a scientifically sensical cited reason, but CoreWeave recently, I don't know if there's rumors that this company might get a deal or get acquired, but there's definitely had a little bounce. For now, it's kind of not that interesting. It's tough when you just have these failures, and it's kind of tight, I guess, but it would be great to have this build a little bit, and I don't know what that's going to look like. There's just not a lot of energy here. A lot of these stocks have right now this sort of energy where if you look at a Nebius, which is the NVIDIA investment, NVIDIA invested $700 million in this company. They're like a GPU layer, infrastructure layer. So it had a little bounce, but it's sort of fading. It's just no energy in this stock. And so if you literally look at the energy stocks, BE, there's something here, right? Sure, there's not much volume, but you typically don't want much volume when you're looking to hop into or anticipate a possible breakout. No one wants to anticipate, but it's great to get in there early, because if you do get in too late, like a GEV, great, you got in when all the volume came in, which means all the demand you participated in. So you want to get in before that demand, so it lifts you. As far as other energy stocks, Dyno just sort of sold off. PARR sold off some. EQT, natural gas, is sold off. If you look at the natural gas futures, it's just following that. And then, you know, the oil stocks, they do follow the price of crude, but on a micro level. So if you look at ExxonMobil, it's wedging up. So this could bring back ExxonMobil a little bit, you know, the decrease in the price of crude oil, which would be actually great if you are an owner of this. You can see, it's hard to exactly see, but the channel is 6% here, you know, maybe even 6%, 5% here, you know, maybe 4% here, 3%. It is narrowing. So eventually this could pull a GEV and have a big move to the upside. But there's a reason I'm looking at Bloom Energy. It has had the largest move. It is in the hottest sector, which is the mobile data storage. And I'm not saying to buy it right here, but I'm saying if you do have an interest in it, now is a spot where you can get super tight risk reward. And you might be wrong twice before you ultimately make, you know, 10 bucks, 20 bucks, $30 or more on this stock. And that's okay, you know, as long as you're losing $1 or losing $2. And SanDisk, again, the memory stocks are slightly extended, but it's certainly in the ballpark of, you know, wedges turning into flags. It's not just channeling straight up, it is constricting. And, you know, it might reject here. It might form something even more tight that makes it more favorable, but better to have it on your radar now rather than later. As far as earnings reactions, Titan and levels, you know, I talked about 110. You have to kind of turn to, I mean, you can look at CRM, that had that positive earnings reaction, but it's had a couple of wicks, a couple of failures that there's some people stuck here, here, here. So, you know, it might blow through those, but they also might sell it down a little bit. So definitely keep an eye on it, but I do think Titan is a little more favorable just in terms of lack of selling pressure. It's also more liquid, so there's a fair number of people who can't play this at all. It only trades as little as $50 million a day on certain cases, which might sound like a lot until you realize you can only put 100th of that 500K in at any, you know, click of a button. Otherwise, you're moving the stock, which means you're suddenly trading not only the company but also yourself, which is not good at all. So those are the ideas. BE, Bloom Energy, SanDisk, SNDK, TTAN, Service Titan. If you like these ideas, hit that like button for the YouTube algo. If you want a free course on how to find the next NVIDIA without gambling on startups, hit that subscribe, post that in the YouTube posts once a month. And if you want to get analysis on stocks on an up-to-date fashion, head over to stockscommunity.com. You'll see the live recordings as soon as you join that trial, and you can ask as many questions as you want. So some people, you know, dip their toes in and ask a ton of questions. Some people don't ask very many questions and just want to sort of observe, you know, maybe show up to watch the recordings rather than show up to the live Q&As, but it's open for you. So it's for busy people. So check that out if that is you.
Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.